I haven't seen anyone that's within a dollar or two of the price that we're quoting. So it's as good of a price as I've seen in 2 years on a sovereign issued silver coin. So it's a 2022 United Kingdom Britannia. I have over 60,000 of them in stock, ready to ship immediately at $450 over the price of silver, any quantity. And anyone looking to buy 1 ounce government issued coins, it's the best buy I've seen. You know, we're U.S. Mint distributor or authorized resellers, and we're very proud of our association with the Mint, and I love Silver Eagles. But at $12.50 over spot on a Silver Eagle, when a Britannia's been 50 or 60 cents under a Silver Eagle my whole 30-year career, the fact that it's $8 under it right now.
You and I have both been distressed at how difficult it is to reach out to people and try to convince them, as long as they're still intoxicated by the normalcy bias of what's been going on for the past 40 years in the environment, which is, Rick Rule just said, the environment has changed. It has already changed. It's not going to be like it was in the past 40 years. People haven't woken up to that yet. But and it's very distressing to people like you and I who really care, because we want to help as many people as we can, but they haven't adjusted their awareness yet. However, I have a promising sign to mention. As you know, we put some commercial graphics on our vehicle 2.5 years ago about precious metals, gold, silver, very prominent, very attractive graphics. In the last 2.5 years, we received exactly 3 inquiries from people saying, hey, I saw this on your vehicle, tell me more about that or whatever. In the last 2 weeks, we've received 5 inquiries from people just out of the blue. The car didn't change, the graphics didn't change, but people are now seeing, and a good motivational speaker and educator, Lou Tice, talks about the reticular activating system, which is in our consciousness. Our mind intentionally screens out way more than 90% of everything that comes at us during the day, because we only are trying to focus on that which is vital for our survival, fear and greed and that kind of thing, things that are the main drivers. Suddenly, people are seeing what was right there before their eyes before and reaching out. I hope that's indicating that people are waking up. And I wanted to mention, because you mentioned about correlations, and true diversification means something that's not correlated to the bubble of everything. What's the anti-bubble, as Gregory Mannarino talks about? So people can email us for a free guide. If they just email us at libertyandfinance@protonmail.com and just put free guide, and then put your name in the email, we'll send you a link to a guide that explains the Ibbotson study. It gives you a link to it so you can look at it. That with Ibbotson and Associates did this study where they show these correlations of all different types of stocks in this matrix of risk versus reward, and then versus gold and silver. It's just eye-popping and eye-opening to see the role that gold and silver play to truly offset, balance, hedge, and protect a risk to your overall nest egg versus participation in the bubble of everything.
Not only that, the one takeaway I got, well, there are 2 takeaways. One, that any portfolio does better when it has an allocation to metals in it, was one of the takeaways they had. But another thing that came across interesting that has shaped my thinking about gold and silver is they said, because, as we've talked about before, when I started in this industry, interest rates were 9%. So stocks and bonds were inversely correlated to one another. It was called risk on, risk off. When you're young and you're working, it's risk on. You risk your assets into speculation in securities. As you get closer to retirement age, you transition to risk off, which is a bond portfolio. And at 9%, you could put $2 million in to 10-year treasuries, never touch your principal, make $180,000 a year federally tax-free. That's a heck of a deal. And you live like a king and a queen on 180 grand a year off of 2 million, never touching your principal. That doesn't work in this low interest rate environment. So what Ibbotson said is that and by the way, where interest rates are right now at 1.5% on the 10-year treasury, just under 3%, you'd have to put in you'd have to put in a minimum of 6 million, and if not more, just to get that same return. Anyways, the bottom line is that they came out and said that there are no inversely correlated markets any longer to the U.S. stock market, with the exception of precious metals. So when we talk about an inversely correlated asset to the U.S. stock market and to the U.S. bond market and to the U.S. dollar, it's precious metals. This is why you own it, because it just seems to me that all three of those markets ought to experience something on the chin. When you take a look at the dollar that's at, the highest it's been in 2 decades, of course, that counterintuitively throws a monkey wrench in the works, but I can't see this being substantive or anything that it would be long lasting. There's nothing behind the dollar that would signal this should be the case. And when you see all of these countries start to coalesce and form a group where Putin just comes out and says we're now building a global BRICS currency to challenge for world reserve, you can see the writing is on the wall. And does the tier 1 status of gold play into this? Absolutely it does. Look at the BRICS nations. They're the largest producers of it in the world, the largest accumulators of it in the world. And does the Chinese digital yuan play into this? Absolutely. When you went to the Olympics, in China, you had to use the digital yuan on your cell phone. When you see that 12 billion in trades have already settled on the digital yuan, these BRICS nations will use the backing of this central bank digital currency that's already worked for over a year, and they'll pledge gold to it and peg it to a new system where the BRICS say, hey, we have a new system, we're pledging gold to it, and the veracity is denoted on this distributed ledger for the whole world to see. And it's over just like that. And you get Saudi Arabia entering into this and now pegging oil to the new BRICS currency instead of to the dollar. It's really over. And it happens overnight. And it's not just you and me. It's everybody, the insurance companies, the pension funds. Where do you think they invest their money? Stocks and bonds. If interest rates go to the moon, what happens to the pension funds? They blow up. What happens to the insurance companies? They go bankrupt. If what happened in 2008 sent AIG to the brinks of collapse, which was the reinsurer, had the U.S. government not stepped in, and the balance sheet of the Fed back then was $800 billion, and it's now over $9 trillion, what does it say this time if there's trouble? We've suppressed the markets for so long. We have created so many distortions. At some point, Mother Nature gets her revenge. And that's what is the scariest thing of all, is that if we just would have let things correct in 2008, we'd been long on our way to recovery right now. And probably we wouldn't be having these discussions, because gold and silver wouldn't be what they really should be right now, or what they are to me right now. Instead, we've only distorted things further, that when they finally do crack, it's going to be something to see. And I think that's why you own precious metals, and that's why the biggest money in the world has been accumulating it, because I think they realize that when the dollar pops, it's going to be something you don't want to be real close to, and you want to try to mitigate your exposure much as possible. And that's what you see the big money doing right now.